She didn't just leave you. She dismantled you, piece by piece, until the man you thought you were was nothing more than a blueprint for a failed project. You're replaying the moments, searching for the crack, the exact second the structure of your reality began to collapse. But you're looking for a single event, a fatal blow. That's your first mistake. This wasn't a sudden demolition. It was a strategic disassembly, executed with chilling precision while you were still living inside the building, convinced of its safety. She didn't break your heart. She systematically broke your frame, your will, your perception of your own value. She didn't walk away from a relationship. She walked away from a successful operation, leaving you as collateral damage in a war you never knew was being waged. Think back. Remember that specific moment of silence on the phone, the one that lasted just a second too long, where the air grew cold and you felt a shift in the atmospheric pressure of your world. Or recall the text message that used a period where a smiley face used to be, a tiny, almost insignificant change in punctuation that was, in reality, the digital signature on your termination papers. You felt it in your gut, a primal alarm that you rationalized away. You dismissed it as paranoia, as insecurity. You were wrong. It was your instincts screaming a warning that your conscious mind, sedated by affection and routine, refused to hear. She wasn't having a bad day. She was recalibrating her strategy. She was weighing her options. And you, my friend, were being moved from the asset column to the liability column on a spreadsheet you never got to see. You believed you were the co-author of a love story. In reality, you were a character whose arc had reached its conclusion, a plot device whose purpose had been served. The illusion of a shared journey, of a unique connection between two souls, is the most potent anesthetic known to man. It numbs you to the cold, biological reality of the transaction taking place. The German philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer saw through this charade with brutal clarity. He wasn't a romantic. He was a biologist of the soul. He identified romantic love not as a mystical union, but as the stratagem of the species, a powerful, instinctual trick played on the individual to ensure the continuation of the whole. You weren't chosen for your unique spirit. You were selected for your genetic fitness, for your utility, for your role in a biological imperative that has no concern for your personal happiness or your heartbreak. She wasn't your soulmate. She was the agent of a blind, relentless will, and her attraction was the bait in a trap set millions of years before you were born. The tenderness, the inside jokes, the promises of a future, all of it was the elaborate camouflage for a biological mechanism designed to enslave you. And when your utility expired, so did the illusion. You now stand in the wreckage, believing your pain is a testament to the love you lost. You think the depth of your sorrow is a measure of the height of your connection. This is the final, most insidious lie of the system. Your pain is not a tribute to love. It is the withdrawal symptom from a powerful neurochemical cocktail. It is the shock of the organism realizing its purpose has been fulfilled, or, worse, aborted. You are not mourning a person. You are mourning the loss of a biological mission your body was convinced it was on. You feel like a failure, but you didn't fail at love. You simply and predictably fell for nature's most effective con. The game was rigged from the start, and the house, the relentless, unfeeling will of the species, always wins. But what if you could learn the rules of the game so intimately that you could no longer be a pawn? What if you could see the strings, the levers, the hidden mechanisms, not to play the game better, but to rise above it entirely? What if the heartbreak wasn't an ending, but a violent, necessary awakening from a beautiful, enslaving dream? If you have ever felt like a pawn in someone else's game, if this cold truth resonates in the wreckage of your own experience, then you have found more than a channel. You have found an armory. This is the beginning of your reprogramming. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, because you cannot afford to miss a single transmission. Like this video to signal that you are done being a victim and are ready to become a strategist. And in the comments below, I want you to perform your first act of defiance. Describe the one moment, the one text, the one look, the one silence, where you first felt the power shift, the moment you knew you were no longer on solid ground. And tell us what city, what state, what country you are watching from. It's time to see the global map of men who are waking up. Your war for self-possession begins now. Let's begin the forensic audit. The relationship is over. The structure has collapsed. But buried in the rubble is the black box, the flight data recorder containing every signal, every input, and every fatal error that led to the crash. You've been treating the wreckage like a memorial, a sacred ground of sorrow. That ends now. Today, we treat it as a crash site. We are not here to mourn. We are here to investigate. We will sift through the debris with the cold detachment of an accident investigator, because understanding the exact sequence of failures is the only way to ensure you never pilot a craft into the same storm again. Your heartbreak is irrelevant here. Your fond memories are inadmissible evidence. All that matters is the raw data of power dynamics. We are going to deconstruct your fall, piece by piece, so you can see the blueprint of your own defeat. This process will be brutal. It will feel like a violation of something you once held sacred. Good. The sacredness you assigned to it was the very anesthetic that kept you numb while the surgery of your disassembly was being performed. The first phase of your collapse, the initial hairline fracture in your foundation, was emotional concession. It didn't feel like a concession. It felt like a kindness. It felt like compromise. It felt like love. This is the first lie you told yourself. A man's frame, his reality, is built upon his principles, his purpose, and the inviolable value of his time and word. The first time you sacrificed one of these for her emotional comfort, you handed her a chisel and showed her the weak points in your own walls. Think back. It was likely something small. She was 30 minutes late for a date you had planned. You had a choice. Acknowledge the disrespect for your time calmly and firmly, setting a boundary, or swallow it to avoid a confrontation and preserve the good vibe. You chose the latter. You smiled, said, "It's okay," and in that moment, you taught her that your time was not valuable. You taught her that her emotional state was more important than your standards. Or consider the argument that came out of nowhere. She was in a bad mood, looking for a target, and she chose you. She twisted your words, accused you of a thought you didn't have, an intention that wasn't there. You defended yourself, logically, rationally, but logic is useless against emotional artillery. She escalated. The tears came. The accusations of you being cold or unfeeling were deployed. You felt the pressure building, the desire for peace overwhelming your need to be right, to stand on the truth. So you conceded. You apologized. You said, "I'm sorry," not because you were wrong, but because you wanted the noise to stop. When you apologized, you signed your surrender. You validated her reality over your own. You agreed to be the villain in a story she wrote, just to get to the next chapter. She wasn't looking for a resolution. She was looking for leverage. She was testing the integrity of your frame. She pushed, and you buckled. She tested. You yielded. She won. Every time you abandoned your own plans because she had a bad day, every time you paid for something you didn't believe in to make her happy, every time you said yes when your gut screamed no, you weren't being a good boyfriend. You were being a poor strategist. You were trading territory for a temporary ceasefire. And in any war, a pattern of such trades leads to only one outcome: unconditional surrender. This leads directly to the second phase, the loss of control. Your initial concessions, those seemingly minor trades of principle for peace, set a new precedent. They became the new baseline for the relationship's operating system. The frame was no longer yours. You were now living inside her reality, and she was the architect. This is when your friends started noticing your absence. The hobbies that once defined you began to gather dust. She never had to forbid you from seeing your friends. She was more sophisticated than that. She used emotional leverage. The night you were supposed to go out with your friends, she would suddenly feel anxious or lonely. She'd send you a text about how much she missed you, creating a conflict of loyalty. Go out, and you're the bad guy who abandoned her in her time of need. Stay home, and you're the loving, attentive partner. It's a masterful trap, and you walked right into it, believing you were making a noble sacrifice. You weren't. You were isolating yourself, cutting off your own supply lines, making yourself more dependent on her. Your very mission in life began to erode. Before her, you had goals, a career path, a fitness regimen, a project you were passionate about. But now, your primary mission became her, making her happy, keeping the relationship stable, navigating her moods. This became your full-time, unpaid job. Your ambition was a threat, because it was a part of your life that she couldn't control, so it was subtly undermined. Your late nights at the office were framed as neglect. Your dedication to the gym was a sign you were secretly trying to attract other women. Every ounce of energy you poured into your own purpose was energy you were withholding from her. And because you had already established a pattern of concession, you began to believe it. You scaled back your ambitions to make her feel more secure. You gave up parts of yourself, thinking it was an investment in the relationship. In reality, you were liquidating your own assets and transferring them to her account, leaving yourself emotionally and spiritually bankrupt. Control wasn't taken from you in a violent coup. You gave it away, piece by piece, in a series of quiet, bloodless negotiations where you consistently undervalued your own worth. You thought you were co-piloting the journey, but you had long since been relegated to the passenger seat, convincing yourself you still enjoyed the view, while she drove you deeper into a territory of her own choosing. Once you've ceded control of your reality, you inevitably enter the third, and perhaps most pathetic phase: validation seeking. The polarity of the relationship has now completely inverted. In the beginning, she was drawn to your centered, self-contained energy. Your approval was something to be earned. You were the prize. Now, that dynamic is a distant memory. You have become a supplicant, an addict constantly seeking a fix of her approval. Her validation is the currency you now live on, and you are perpetually broke. This manifests in 1,000 small, humiliating ways. You craft a text message and reread it a dozen times, optimizing it for her approval. You post a photo of the two of you online, and then compulsively check your phone, your heart sinking a little deeper each time you see she hasn't liked it or commented. Her slightest sign of displeasure can ruin your entire day. Her casual compliment can make you feel like a king. Your emotional state is a ship without a rudder, tossed about on the waves of her moods. You start asking questions that reek of weakness. Are you mad at me? Did I do something wrong? Do you still love me? Each question is a confession of your insecurity. You are begging her to reassure you, to tell you that you still have value. You have outsourced your self-esteem to her, making her the sole arbiter of your worth. Arthur Schopenhauer would see this not as a personal failure, but as the logical success of the biological program. The will of the species, that blind, relentless force driving procreation, has you exactly where it wants you. It has dissolved your individual ego and purpose, making you a hyper-focused tool for its agenda. Your obsession with her validation is nature's way of ensuring you will do anything to keep the agent of its mission, her, satisfied. You think you're fighting for love? You're not. You are a puppet, and the strings are being pulled by a biological imperative that is billions of years old. You look at her and see your world. She looks at you and sees a resource that has become compliant. The man she was attracted to, the one with his own gravitational pull, is gone. In his place is a satellite, trapped in her orbit, desperate for any light she might choose to shine on him. Your constant search for her validation is the clearest signal you can send that you bring no value of your own. You are a beggar, and beggars don't command respect. They elicit either pity or contempt. Guess which one she feels. This desperate need for validation creates the perfect environment for the fourth phase: affective dependency. This is the endgame of your emotional surrender. You are no longer just seeking her approval. You are biochemically addicted to her. Your brain, flooded for months or years with the oxytocin and dopamine cocktail that she provided, can no longer function properly without her. Her presence brings a high of relief and comfort. Her absence or disapproval triggers the painful, gut-wrenching symptoms of withdrawal. This is where her power over you becomes absolute. She doesn't need to argue or make demands anymore. All she needs is silence. Her silence is dominance, not disinterest. When she goes quiet, withholding texts, affection, or conversation, she is not simply taking space. She is cutting off your supply. She knows it sends you into a panic. Your mind races, replaying every recent interaction, searching for your mistake. You become frantic. You send a barrage of texts. Is everything okay? Talk to me. I'm sorry for whatever I did. You are a junkie, and she is the dealer who holds your fix. You will do anything to get it. You will apologize for crimes you didn't commit. You will agree to terms you find repulsive. You will sacrifice the last remnants of your dignity for just one more hit of her affection. This dependency is the most insidious form of control because it feels biological, inescapable. You mistake the agony of withdrawal for the depth of your love. You think, I must really love her if I feel this bad without her. This is the grand illusion. You are not mourning the potential loss of a soulmate. Your body is screaming in protest at the removal of a chemical stimulus it has been conditioned to need for survival. Schopenhauer identified this enslavement to the will as the fundamental tragedy of the human condition. You believe you are an individual making choices based on love, but you are merely a vessel, a tool being used for a purpose far older and more powerful than your own happiness. Your dependency is not a sign of your love for her. It is a sign of your complete loss of love for yourself. You have become a ghost in your own life, haunting the hallways of your past, waiting for her to give you permission to feel, to exist. No one is coming to save you. You are your own prisoner, and you have handed her the only key. The final act of this tragedy The moment the curtain falls on your power is the fifth phase, breaking the silence. This is your last stand, but it is not a battle. It is a rout. After days or weeks of being starved of affection, of being controlled by her strategic silence, the pressure becomes unbearable. You break. You demand, "We need to talk." This is the weakest phrase in the masculine vocabulary. It is a signal of utter desperation. You arrange a confrontation, believing you will finally clear the air, state your case, and fix what's broken. But you are not coming to this negotiation with any leverage. You have already conceded your territory, surrendered control, outsourced your validation, and succumbed to a crippling dependency. What do you possibly have left to bargain with? The conversation is a disaster. You unleash a torrent of neediness and insecurity. You tell her how much pain you're in. You list all the things you've done for her. You may even cry. You are laying your entire emotional hand on the table, and it is a collection of losing cards. You are looking for a logical resolution, but she is operating on the level of power dynamics. Your emotional outburst is not a sign of your deep love to her. It is the ultimate proof of her complete dominance. You have confirmed that she controls your emotional state entirely. In that moment, you are not a man she respects. You are a problem to be managed. You might beg. You might plead for one more chance. You might promise to change, even though the problem is that you have already changed too much, erasing yourself to accommodate her. When you finally stop talking, when your emotional storm has passed, you are left in the quiet devastation of your own making. You have handed her the last vestiges of your power. You have proven beyond any doubt that you cannot live without her. And in doing so, you have made it almost certain that she will now choose to live without you. Why? Because the strong, centered man she was once attracted to is gone. You have replaced him with a pleading, anxious shell. She tested you, and you failed. And the final test is always this. When all the chips are down, does he maintain his frame, or does he crumble? You crumbled, and you mistake your rubble for a monument to your love. Perhaps you're listening to this and a voice of protest rises within you. This is cynical. Love requires compromise and vulnerability. You are confusing compromise with capitulation. Compromise is a negotiation between two sovereign powers, each with unshakable respect for their own boundaries. Capitulation is surrender disguised as peacekeeping, and you are confusing vulnerability with emotional incontinence. True vulnerability is the conscious choice of a strong man to grant access to his inner world, not the desperate, uncontrolled spilling of his insecurities. Another objection. So, I'm supposed to be a heartless, unfeeling machine? No. You are supposed to be the stable, emotional rock, the source of strength, not the source of drama. Your emotions are for you to master, not for her to manage. Your feelings are your responsibility, and burdening her with the task of regulating your emotional state is the abdication of your masculine duty. It is not heartless to have standards. It is the foundation of self-respect. It is not unfeeling to hold your frame. It is the greatest gift you can give to a relationship, for it provides the stability and safety within which genuine intimacy can flourish. You didn't fail because you had feelings. You failed because you allowed your feelings to dictate your strategy, and your strategy was one of appeasement, concession, and ultimately, self-annihilation. The fall is never loud. It does not announce itself. It happens in the silence of your hesitation. It happens in the small yes you utter out of fear. It happens in the apology you give for a crime you didn't commit. It was a death by 1,000 quiet cuts, and you held the blade for most of them. If this autopsy of failure resonates with the cold data from your own black box, if you are seeing the ghosts of your past mistakes in this analysis, then the most critical phase of your mission has just begun. This is your awakening. To continue this reprogramming, you must commit to the process. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and, most importantly, activate all notifications. You are in a war for your own mind, and you cannot afford to miss a single strategic briefing. Give this video a like as a signal, a digital salute to the fact that you are done being a casualty and are now training to be a strategist. And now, your first active exercise. In the comments below, I want you to make a confession. What was the one compromise you made? The one small concession you now realize was the first domino to fall in your own surrender. Name it. Expose it. Your diagnosis begins the moment you stop lying to yourself. Write it down and let the world see the first step of your reclamation. Your war is not over. It has just been properly declared. Let's be brutally clear. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. The man you were is dead, a casualty of a war you didn't know you were fighting. To mourn him is to waste ammunition. To try and resurrect him is to guarantee a second, more pathetic death. Your only path forward is a scorched earth policy against your own weakness. You will clear the rubble of your former self and build a fortress in its place. Reconstruction is not an emotional process. It is a demolition. It is tactical. You do not reason with a collapsed building. You clear the rubble and lay a new, unbreakable foundation. This is your new operational command. The commands are simple, but their execution requires a level of discipline you have not yet accessed. Your first command: cut the excess. This begins with an absolute and total amputation. It is not no contact. No contact is a strategy of hope, a childish game where you wait by the phone, hoping your silence makes her miss you. That is the thinking of a victim. Amputation is a strategy of power. You are not trying to manipulate her feelings. You are cauterizing a wound to save your own life. You will vanish. You will block her number. You will block her on every social media platform. You will not check her profiles through a friend's account. You will erase her digital ghost from your life entirely. Every picture, every saved message, every digital artifact of your shared history is a psychological landmine. You will conduct a controlled detonation of it all. This is not done out of anger or spite. It is done with the cold, sterile precision of a surgeon removing a cancerous tumor. Why? Because every moment you spend monitoring her life is a moment you are not building your own. Every ounce of emotional energy you invest in her is a resource stolen from your own reconstruction. You are starving the enemy of intelligence and reclaiming your own supply lines. You are creating a vacuum, a black hole where your attention used to be. You are reinstalling scarcity, not as a trick to get her back, but as a fundamental law of your new reality. Your time, your focus, your energy. These are now the most valuable and heavily guarded assets you possess. Access is denied, permanently. Your second command: install silence. The amputation will likely trigger a response. Having lost control, she may attempt to re-establish a connection, to test if the leash still works. A text message will arrive. Hey, just thinking of you. Or perhaps, are you okay? I'm worried. These are not gestures of genuine concern. They are probes. They are sonar pings sent out to see if you still exist in her emotional orbit. Your response to these probes will define the new power dynamic. Any response, angry, sad, or even indifferent, is a failure. A response, any response, tells her one thing: you can still get to me. It confirms you are still a player in her game. The correct response is no response. Absolute, unbreachable silence. Your silence is not passive. It is an active weapon. It communicates something far more devastating than anger: indifference. It tells her that her actions, her words, her very existence no longer register on your emotional radar. You are a stone wall against which her emotional waves will crash and dissipate into nothing. Not responding is dominance. It is the ultimate statement of self-possession. You are signaling that your peace is more valuable than her drama. You are not playing her game. You have left the stadium and are building your own empire. Do not reconquer the old territory. Replace it with a sharper silence. Be the absence that carries weight, not the presence that begs. Your third command: control the reaction. This is the internal war. The first two commands are external actions. This one is about mastering the chaos within. The silence will be deafening at first. The addiction will scream for a fix. Your mind, conditioned for her validation, will manufacture 1,000 reasons to break your discipline. Maybe I was too harsh. What if she needs me? Just one last conversation for closure. These are not your thoughts. They are the death throes of your weakness. They are the withdrawal symptoms of the biological program Schopenhauer warned against. You must treat these thoughts as enemy propaganda and shoot them on sight. This is where your true training begins. You will redirect every single impulse to check on her, to think of her, to mourn what was, into one of the 4 pillars of your reconstruction. The urge to text her becomes 10 more pounds on the barbell. The memory that surfaces becomes another page read in a book on finance or strategy. The wave of sadness becomes a cold shower to shock your system back into the present moment. You will control your internal state with the ruthless discipline of a warrior monk. Your feelings are not your guides. They are unreliable intelligence that must be interrogated and dismissed. You are building an emotional fortress, and the foundation is an unwavering control over your own reactions. The external world can only shake you if your internal frame is weak. You will make your inner world an impregnable citadel. This leads to the final and most critical command. Focus on hierarchy. Power is not an abstract concept. It is a measurable reality. While you were focused on her, your position in the world atrophied. Now, your sole mission is to climb. This is a multi-front war. First, the physical hierarchy. You will transform your body into a weapon and a shield. The gym is your new temple. You will train with a singular focus, not for a revenge body to show her what she's missing. That is still her frame, but to forge discipline, to build physical presence, and to flood your system with the neurochemicals of victory that you once outsourced to her. Second, the financial hierarchy. Money is stored power. It is freedom. It is options. You will attack your career or business with a relentless ferocity. Every dollar you earn, every skill you acquire is another stone in your fortress. It makes you less dependent, more sovereign. Third, the social hierarchy. You will rebuild your brotherhood. You isolated yourself for her. Now, you will reconnect with strong, ambitious men who hold you to a higher standard. Your value as a man is reflected in the quality of the men you surround yourself with. They are your advisors, your allies, and your accountability. Finally, and most importantly, the symbolic hierarchy. This is your mission, your purpose. Schopenhauer saw the individual's intellect as the only possible light in the dark, instinctual prison of the will. Your mission, your purpose, is the ultimate expression of that intellect. It is the creation of a personal will so powerful that the biological will of the species can no longer command you. Whether it is building a business, mastering a craft, or creating a legacy, your mission must become your obsession. It is the sun around which your entire reality now orbits. She was a temporary moon, reflecting borrowed light. You are becoming a star, generating your own. This entire process is the plan. It is not hope. It is a strategic blueprint for the creation of a man who is immune to the manipulations that once broke him. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes his presence will be feared. And fear, my friend, is a form of respect that lasts far longer than affection. If you are ready to stop being a ghost in your own life and start building an empire from the ashes, your next mission is clear. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications, because every video is a strategic briefing in your war for self-possession. Like this video to declare that your reconstruction has officially begun. And now, for your first act of public commitment. In the comments below, declare the single most important pillar you will start rebuilding today. Your body, your bank account, your brotherhood, or your mission. One word. Declare your war. The time for mourning is over. The time for building has begun. The day will come. A notification will pierce the silence you have so carefully constructed. It might be a simple, innocuous text. Hey, it could be a shared memory on social media where she tags you, a digital breadcrumb leading back to a ghost town. Or perhaps it will be a call from a number you thought you had deleted, but that your muscle memory still recognizes. This is the moment the entire war has been leading to. This is the final exam. The man you were, the supplicant, the addict, would have seen this as a sign from the universe. His heart would have leaped with a toxic mixture of hope and anxiety. He would have analyzed the message for 100 hidden meanings, crafting a dozen replies, each one a negotiation with his own dignity. He would have believed this was his chance for redemption, for closure, for a final victory lap where he could show her the man he had become. That man is dead. He was a necessary casualty. The man you are sees this communication not as a sign, but as data. You understand its true nature. It is not an olive branch. It is a probe. She is not reaching out to a person. She is pinging a server that once belonged to her, checking if it's still online. She is testing the leash. Her ego, needing a small hit of validation, is wondering if her power over you still exists. She is bored, or lonely, or her current source of validation has faltered, and she is returning to a well she knows was once deep. Your response, or lack thereof, is not a conversation. It is a declaration of sovereignty. To reply is to tell her, this territory can still be conquered. To ignore it, to delete it without a flicker of emotion, to see the notification, and simply turn your attention back to your mission, your workout, your business, your book, is to send the most powerful message of all. This property is under new ownership. You no longer have the security clearance to even approach the gate. You see, the ultimate power move isn't to flip the board in a fit of rage. It is to realize the game itself is beneath you, to stand up, and to walk away from the table without a word. Your victory is not her regret. Her regret is irrelevant. It is a fleeting emotion in a mind you no longer occupy. Your victory is not her return. Her return would be a regression, a step back into the prison you have just escaped. Your victory is your indifference. It is the calm, unshakable peace that comes from knowing your value is not determined by her presence or her absence. You have become your own source of validation. The biological program that Schopenhauer described, the stratagem of the species, can no longer find a host in you. You have seen the code, the underlying mechanism of the matrix, and now you cannot unsee it. And when the next agent of the species arrives, beautiful, charming, captivating, you will not see a soulmate. You will see the program running. You can appreciate the elegance of the design without ever again becoming its slave. You can engage, but from a position of power, of amusement, of choice, never again from a position of need. This is the final stage of your dominion. You are no longer a character in her story, waiting to be written back in. You are the author of your own epic, and she is, at best, a footnote in a chapter you have long since finished. Respect is not requested. It is the shadow your power casts. It is the byproduct of a man so focused on his own empire that he has no time to entertain invasions from his past. Your silence is not an absence of words. It is the presence of a standard. It is the quiet hum of the fortress you have built, a structure so solid that the storms of her emotions can no longer even rattle the windows. You are not ignoring her. You are prioritizing the empire you are building in your own name. The man she left is unrecognizable, not because he changed for her, but because he shed the skin of the person he pretended to be to keep her. What is left is the raw, unapologetic core of his own will. If this is the day your reconstruction begins, if you are ready to walk away from the table and start building your own world, then your mission is not over. It is being redefined. Subscribe to Psychological Dominion and activate all notifications. You must treat this channel as your new strategic command center. Like this video as a final salute to the weak man you are leaving behind in the rubble. And for your final declaration in this war room, answer this in the comments. When she looks for you in a year, what is the one thing she will find that you have built in your absence? Your war for love is over. Your campaign for legacy has just begun. She did not break you. She was merely the demolition crew that cleared the ground for the fortress you were always meant to build.